Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Milwaukee Art Museum's Hangout with Art MOOC. We are so excited that you're here joining us for what is actually our final hangout in our Hangout with Art series. So welcome, we're glad you're joining us, and we have some really great guest speakers today for our final talk, who I'll introduce in a moment. But first, just a little bit of an introduction and housekeeping as we get started. My name is Chelsea Emily Kelly, and I'm the manager of digital learning here at the Milwaukee Art Museum. And for the past few months, we have been running an online course called Hangout with Art, of which these Hangouts are a part. So participants in the course have been learning more about how to get comfortable in museums and get comfortable looking at art. So we are excited to share some more ideas on exactly that subject today. We've also been doing lots of activities, and you can check out the course. It's still running. It's free to join in, and it's at courses.mam.org. So if you haven't checked it out yet, we welcome you to join us and see what resources are up there. And this second part of the course features a number of different hangouts, 6 in total, where we've invited people from all over Milwaukee in professions that are not museum professions to share how they use art in their work. So today we are excited to have H2O Music here with us, who I'll introduce in a moment. And we encourage you to ask lots of questions. We want this to be as conversational as possible. So you can find the Q&A feature of Google Hangouts on the left-hand side of your screen. There's a button that says Q&A. You can just click it and type in your questions, and we will answer them as we receive them. So please do ask any questions you might have. And before we get started, I'd like to thank the Google Art Project for being our partner for the Hangout with Art course, as well as the Google Jumpstart Your Course grant for funding the project. So thank you, Google. So today I want to introduce H2O Music, also known as Dwight and Marquis Gilbert, who are cousins who created and facilitate H2O Milwaukee Music. H2O is a project-based arts program that teaches music, songwriting, recording, and video production through a very cool digital mobile studio, which I've actually seen in person, and it's awesome. So I'm excited to tell you all about our collaboration with H2O as well. And they serve youth in the city of Milwaukee. And you can also find a catalog of all of their video projects on YouTube on the Peace Propaganda Project, and we will link a number of videos that we'll share today, as well as the YouTube page for the Peace Propaganda Project on the Google Plus page for this Hangout, so make sure you check that out as well. And that channel features all youth-created songs, videos, and PSAs. So H2O works with Milwaukee youth in 2nd through 12th grade, and often the youth have no music experience, so they get to really dive in and learn a brand new skill. H2O has been delivering music education through technology for 8 years, and especially in Milwaukee Public Schools, which is the public school district here in the city. And H2O is also recently the recipient of the Milwaukee Public School SOAR Award for After School Programming of the Year in 2014, so congratulations, as well as a number of other awards and grants. And we, as I said, here at the museum, we've worked with H2O for, I think, 3 years now, which has been awesome, so I'm really excited to get to highlight their work through this venue as well for our online course. So I'm going to turn it over to both of you to tell us a bit about what you do.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction, Chelsea.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, like Chelsea said, I'm Marquis.
I'm Dwight.
Yeah, and we're H2O, and we started H2O 8 years ago. It was kind of a dream of ours to create a music program that was more for like today's kids instead of the traditional, you audition and you play band or you play violin or whatever. So like as arts programming and music programs kind of got cut out of schools, we kind of saw that there was a need to kind of fill that void for students that didn't have that traditional, arts education like I myself had in MPS, learning music theory and playing in orchestras and things like that. So we wanted to create something that any age kid could like just kind of jump in and make things and feel proud that of what they made, and with the songwriting and recording aspects of it, they actually have a voice. So it's not just we're playing melodies and beats. They're actually saying things and have a message that they can communicate to their peers with. So that's, I think, one of the strong points of our program and what we do. So
yeah, we make music that they like, and we're not telling them you have to play this, you have to play that, and it has to sound like this. They tell us what they want, and we bring it to life with them.
So, so I mean, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we do. The video aspect of the course is really what's making it popular, because we have a YouTube channel, like you had stated before. So everything that we make goes on this, this page of all these videos. So kids get to see what other kids in the city are doing, and it kind of makes them want to like step their game up and elevate their performances, so that they can say, hey, we worked with H2O too, and this is what we did.
We got more hits and this, and that. So it's a friendly rivalry between schools and community centers with these kids, and it gives them something to be proud of once they're done.
Right.
Wonderful. And I think it's so important to have that kind of student-centered and student voice-driven kind of a program like you guys were saying, because it really brings the subject to life in a way that is so much more interesting than if it wasn't coming from the students. And I'm sure you guys have found, as I have with teaching art and art history to students in the same kind of way, where it's driven by what the students are interested in first, you can still work in the kind of content and skills, even if it's driven by the student voice, and it actually sticks much more strongly, I think, than if you were to just kind of be lecturing on different topics. But you can kind of like work it in much more seamlessly and logically when it's coming from the students.
Right. Like putting them in the driver's seat of the project really teaches them a lot of things. It teaches them to work together as a cohesive group to create this thing, because it's not possible if everybody's not on the same page, and people are, if there's discord within the group. So it really brings them together, and you'll see throughout the process them, when they're recording and they may misspeak on a take, and the kids are saying, oh, you just got to fix this or deliver it like this. And so they're giving a lot of feedback, positive feedback and encouragement, not just saying like, oh, you messed up.
Right. So you start to see bonds made within the group, because they know they want to get to the end project. They want to get to the video. So they kind of huddle around somebody who may be struggling and kind of lift them up. And it creates different identities and different relationships and bonds within that school that never was. So it kind of, our program has been known to change the culture of the school, So we're proud of that, and that's our main goal, to change these kids' mindsets and the things they do and the way they think. And they get to learn some life skills in there. I sneak in some stuff in there. They tell me things, I tell them things, advice, and it's a whole. It's not just making music. It's a whole kind of.
It's kind of like mentorship.
Yeah.
Totally, absolutely. And I think that's so key that those life skills really come through as well. Like those teamwork skills are so important, and when it's something that you really deeply care about and you want everybody to kind of be on board and have the ability to kind of get to this really great final project together, it's so much more natural to want to work on a team and be positive and support each other, rather than in projects where you might not care as much about it, so you might not want to be as invested in making sure everybody feels good about doing the next take. So it becomes this really great supportive environment. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about the process. So I know there are, it's songwriting and music creation, but you also have this really great video component too that is also completely student driven, which I think is really cool. So I wonder if you could tell us a bit about that, and we can even show one of the videos before or after you tell us the process, whatever you guys think would be best.
Yeah, we could talk about the process first and then show one of our videos. So with the Peace Propaganda Project, it's basically a 10-week course, and what we do is we basically bring the studio on our back. We come with the computers, the keyboard, the beat machine, camera, speakers, all that. We just kind of set it up every time we come. So we'll come like twice a week, and we'll work with our group for an hour. So over that 10 weeks, they'll kind of learn the process of how to get from having an idea to having a finished product. So it kind of starts with just teaching like fundamental skills in music. So we'll just like teach them the staff, the treble clef and the bass clef. These are where the notes fall on the staff. We teach them some little rudimentary skills of how to play 5-note scales and playing chords and things like that. And then based off that, we kind of get them right away applying those techniques to actually making tracks. So we just teach them that, repetition and patterns, math concepts and keeping time and all that kind of stuff. So they kind of learn how to play what they've been taught. So like we say, play 4 measures of eighth note hi-hats to this
they'll know
BPM. They'll know what to do. So we just teach them just the basics of what they need to know to be able to create, and then from there we can let them experiment a little bit with sounds. So we have digital sounds in our software, so they get to kind of tell us what they want. Oh, we want trumpets. Oh no, we want a 808 kick, or we want whatever instruments they want. We can pull them up, and then that's how we just kind of rotate them up as a class. Because sometimes our groups are really big, so we'll have one kid lay a pattern with me on the keyboard, and then somebody will be working with Dwight on the beat machine, and every layer that they add, we just bring another student up, and then we just create different types of music, different types of moods, so they might want something mellow, the next track might be something really, really fast and got a lot of kinetic energy in it. And so what happens after we build up all these catalogs of tracks, we listen to them as a group, and so we say, okay, our theme might be, for instance, Pride. We worked on a song with Starms Elementary School, so we have to listen to each track and say, which composition do you think best fits the theme of what we want to talk about? So we didn't want anything that was going to be too slow. We didn't want anything like super, super fast either. So like they kind of listened to every track and they voted, and then we just narrowed it down through a democratic voting process. And then so everybody's happy with the track. And then we switch gears and start working on how do we develop that theme. So we'll have like a word wall. We'll just have like the theme of pride. What does pride mean to you? And kids will start telling us stuff like, oh, it means having respect for other people or caring about your community. Right, and we're just writing everything on this board. And then all the words that we have on this board, we kind of use to craft our lyrics. So it's not like you're starting, you don't know where to start. Right. Look at all these words on the wall and figure out how we can do it.
With which one you want to pick.
Yeah. Right. So we'll sit down with them, DJ Time, Dwight. We'll sit down with the kids, and I'll sit down at another station. We just kind of huddle around. And sometimes I have to get it started. They don't know where to start, so I'll write a line that has one of the words that are on the wall, and then I'll say, I need something that rhymes with this. And then they'll give me a bunch of words. Now give me something that rhymes and makes sense with what I just said.
Right.
So then they'll start throwing out some stuff. So it's kind of like we co-write it together. And then once it's kind of going, I'll pass that sheet along to a kid and say, hey, finish this rhyme for me, and I'll start another one. Then we'll pass that along to a student. And they just start learning it. And the people who feel confident enough to be able to perform and be leads are going to end up recording the track with us. So then we move on to the recording part.
So after everybody has their part, it's usually 8 students. We have like 6 different verses and a couple of kids on the hook. So we that's when we ral them together and put them on this mic. So that a lot of them go before this mic for the first time. They're nervous. So we have to kind of teach them how to speak clearly, how to speak directly into the mic, because they may be looking down at the paper. And so we iron all that out. We get a recording, and after everybody's recorded, I take it home and I engineer it out. So it's real clean, real professional. So by the time they hear it again, they're like, oh, that's me. I'm like, yes, that's you. So, at that point, the song is recorded. Now everybody has to memorize their parts, because here comes the video. So after they've memorized the part, we start shooting right away while it's fresh in their mind. We bring the cameras, we bring these big lights, and they're real excited when they click on these lights. So nerves come back, So we got to get them, relaxed and kind of performing, because they may get up on camera and they'll be sitting there real big eyed and just saying their part, and I'm like, no, you gotta loosen up, So we record, that's when we have fun. So we loosen them up, we have fun, we record this video, hopefully we get to go outside, we run around, we get as much as we can, much footage as we can. Then he takes all that footage and he starts the editing for hours and hours. And then we take some of that editing into class so kids can see, because after we get done shooting, they say, can we see the video now? I'm like, no, it's not. It's not even started. So, you know, we show them how to pick video, how to do, you know, this take is bad, this take is good, what to choose, and they write it down, and we start crafting the video through editing. They get to see a portion of that. So all these little things that they get to learn is life skills, and it's also job skills, you know, videography, engineering, video editing, all that is maybe something they want to pick up as a career if they, you know, if they get into it and they really like it. So,
right. And so we just been finding like kids have a natural talent for music that they may not know that they have, or a natural talent for, you know, videography or editing. That real meticulous-minded kid,
right,
can like that's around. So you put them in front of that laptop and watching these videos, and you'll just see how the demeanor changes. You know, like the kid that was causing all the trouble is now like focused and, you know, and kind of dictating what's going to happen. So it's kind of cool to see that transformation over the course of that 10 weeks. And so once we have we'll debut the video and kind of have a celebration. We'll bring snacks and, you know, invite teachers and other students to come and watch. And so it's kind of a big deal for them. They get to debut the video that's going to go on YouTube, and then they just kind of run with it. So it's something that we created for them, that they get to own and say, like, this is ours, this is what we did. And this, you know, I feel like it's shaping the minds of a lot of our youth in the city that have a lot of challenges with all the things that are going on in the streets with violence and, you know, just all the negativity. It's kind of like something it's an escape, and it's something that's kind of showing like the power of the youth, and that there are positive kids out here that want something more than, you know, than the negativity.
Drugs and guns, yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel like what is so amazing about what you guys do is that you really understand how people learn differently too, and the importance of having some kind of real world meaning to what you're creating. So I know you often, maybe even always, have that kind of like a social justice theme behind what you do, that it's not just kind of like for a fun song, but a song with a real meaning and message that the students themselves are articulating and deciding what they want to say, which is so key. And then what I also really love seeing you guys in action is how you try to make sure that every student has a job to do or can contribute in some way that pushes them a little bit, but also understands where their comfort level is at. So I love that you kind of turn the video, the actual filming process over to the students themselves at times too, because a lot of the times, you know, you'll get that really, really shy student who would love to be involved and is, you know, paying attention 500% but doesn't want to be on camera, and that they can still be involved by filming is so exciting. That there are these writing skills that can happen for students who might be more, you know, cerebral or want to write, or, you know, the stream of consciousness is where it comes out best for them. I think it's so exciting to have so many different ways in for these students, so that everyone really can be involved and feel like they had a say and contributed to this really cool final project. So I love that about what you guys do.
Thank you.
Should we show one of the videos, or a couple?
Sure, yeah, let's show one. I guess it really doesn't matter. We talked about pride in this little intro, so we could show that. But I mean, all of our videos kind of have a similar format, so you can show whatever you want. Yeah.
All right, so it'll come up in just a second. Great.
The best students of all time. Anywhere. The bullet line. Stand up.
All the city is brave, all the city is bold. We win the contest and the trophy is gold. Then I break the mold, we go for the gold. Always have confidence, that's what I'm showing. I'm way back, I'm up, that's what I do so great. Thank you for asking me. Work so hard, I exceed your capacity. Give me a beat, I create a masterpiece. A's and B's, can you top of the class? Stay doing good, do you really gotta ask? Gotta take risks and always be there. I ain't going nowhere, so
Great.
Yeah, it makes
How
me
old were
smile to
they?
watch those videos because we know how much work went into it, and how challenged they were by the process. It's nice to see them like taking them from being very robotic to being very like natural and smiling and having fun. So it's nice to see that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how old were those students?
They were they fifth graders?
Fifth graders,
I think they were fifth grade students.
Awesome. Awesome. And I love that the setting is their school too. Like it's so, it must be such a cool experience for them to get to kind of like showcase their school or like use these settings in their school in such a different way than they're used to seeing
Right.
them like every day.
It's kind of like breaking the rules, but with permission.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Got
The best
turn
kind of rule breaking.
Video set, and we took over the gym. We had some other scenes in that video too. They're just having a ball. They have like a rock climbing wall in their gym. We got some footage of them just kind of hanging out and going across the monkey bars and just having a really, really good time. So yeah, it's fun to be able to do that. Like, I mean, being in the school as a setting is sometimes a challenge depending on what the topic or the theme is, but
What the school looks like, you know.
right. So sometimes I have to get like B-roll footage. Like if we're doing a song about something serious, like we did a song with Nova High School it was called Up in the Streets, and it was more about like basically like crime and death and kind of things like that. So I like went out and got B-roll to shoot and then put it in the video. So when they saw it, they was like, oh, we didn't know this was going to be in the video. So I showed like abandoned homes and went to a cemetery and filmed some like tombstones and, you know, things like that to just kind of make it a little more real. So it's not just like, oh, this is just a school video. No, this is a real video
Right.
with some students in it.
Definitely, yeah. So we actually have our first question, which is great, and this might actually be a great segue into talking a bit about the collaborations that we've done here at the museum. So Gerard asks, are there any pieces of art that inspire your music? So I don't know if you want to kick off and maybe talk a bit about the collaborations that we've done, and I can jump in eventually, but yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. Well, I want to talk about the Salvatore Rosa paintings that we worked on with the students with the Satellite High School. So this was fall semester that we did that, working with you, Chelsea. And so what our task was to do, and this was kind of a daunting task for us, is to take a look at, you know, a work of art and then kind of break it down, analyze it based on like how you feel, what feelings are evoked from it, the color schemes, you know, the landscape, whatever it is that, you know, the kids are seeing, and try to translate what it is that they feel into something musical. So we had two paintings by Salvatore Rosa that we looked at. One was it John the Baptist? Yeah. Was that what's called John the Baptist? And then the other one was, I can't remember the title of the other one.
I have to look it up. Yep, John the Baptist. I think they were both scenes from the life of John the Baptist.
Yeah, so like one was like, I don't know if it was like a before and after. Or...
That's what we came up. We thought it was a before and after from our interpretation of the photos, the two photos, or paintings, I should say, and you know, the depth of what we saw is what generated our music. You know, the aggression of how the trees were painted, and you know what message they were trying to present with this photo. I mean, this painting is what made us transition into, okay, do we want strong trumpets? Do we want soft violins? Do we want, and you know, that's how we were able to make music for this piece, because we kind of say like, how do you feel? What do you hear when you see it? So it was very interesting for us to come up, but it was nice. We came up with some really, really nice music that we composed from that.
Absolutely, yeah. And we, so a little background too. So the Satellite program is one of our high school programs here at the museum, and we have about 16 to 18 students from all over the Milwaukee area. So a lot of Milwaukee Public Schools or MPS students, other students from different school districts and neighborhoods, and we bring them all together, and it's kind of a museum studies and art history program but the big idea is that we find ways to connect art and art history to our lives today, and museums as well. So we brought Dwight and Marquis in because we wanted to see how we could translate doing that with music. So we had actually spent as a group, the teens and I, about an hour together talking about those Salvatore Rosa paintings. And again, I'll link the paintings and a little bit about the project on the Google Plus page as well. But we had spent, prior to you guys coming to visit, we spent an hour talking about the piece and really kind of delving into the history and what the students were interested in learning about it and what stories they were kind of getting from it. It's an Italian Baroque piece from an exhibition that we had in the fall. And then we brought you guys in and decided to, you know, how can we kind of encapsulate these pieces, these really old Italian Baroque from Italy, like from so far away, from a museum in the United Kingdom. You know, how can we translate these into music that that is contemporary and that gives us a similar feeling? So we had a lot of discussions about the mood of the piece, and I think that the teens taught me and you guys a lot about the pieces that we hadn't really noticed before, which is always kind of cool. And we have been doing that with a number of different pieces in the collection. So we brought you guys in, I guess it was in 2012 or 2011, to do a work from our permanent collection, which is a sort of a light installation sculpture by Jim Campbell. Yep, which moved and had different. I'll post a link to that one as well. It's a bit hard to explain, but there's a great video of the teens talking about it and their music as well. And then just recently, this will be on our YouTube in the next couple months, I think. Just recently, we did this again with a work of art that the teens are interpreting this semester, called Texas Tea Party. So stay tuned for more about that one and what we've created.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything else about that experience or about thinking, you know, I wonder if there's any way that using kind of like an art object, as well as the ideas from the teens, kind of like adding that other layer to the creation process has inspired you guys in any way, or if it's, you know, if it made you see something new about like the music process that hadn't come up before by having this this object instead of like a theme involved.
Yeah, I will say that personally for me, it was challenging. Like every time that we do Satellite High School, like I'm nervous because I don't know what we're gonna make. It's kind of like I have an idea, but you really don't know until you really start kind of messing around with the keys and figuring out what works. But so usually when we create music, it's really not art-based. Like we don't say we're gonna look at this painting and then we're gonna make some music. It's more just kind of like a gut feeling that we have.
It's a vibe.
But doing it that way kind of makes us. It's kind of like rewiring my mind a little bit to like
do music. Yeah.
Right. So when we were looking at, for instance, the Texas Tea Party ceramic piece, one of the things I had said that I heard, because it was like the monkeys in the chairs with the dunce caps, but they were kind of like the oil rigs, and it was just kind of like this real, I don't know, like real quirky kind of thing I had going on in my mind. And so when I talked to when we met with the teens, one of the students had a similar musical expression idea that I had too. It was like, sounded like there should be like a sliding trombone or something, like some real, just real like non-structured, just kind of like we're living high on the hog and we're full, and you know, so it was this real sloppy, kind of almost drunk kind of sound.
Right.
And so we were able to encapsulate that as the foundation for the first movement that we did for that piece, and that got the kids kind of laughing a little bit because it did sound real, you know.
Sounded pretty crazy.
Yeah, it sounded pretty crazy.
But then we composed it all together. It fit. It worked. So you know, it was pretty awesome. But yeah, it makes us challenge ourselves when we're doing music to look at a piece. And I think, you know, when we make music, I think the mood of where you make it at is gonna be what the music's gonna come out to sound like. So if we make it into the basement, in the corner, in the dungeon, it'd probably be a little dark song, but you know, putting the art piece into it makes it more structured of what is it gonna be based on what do you see. So
And another thing too, I wanted to add to with that Texas Tea Party thing. One of the things that was kind of cool because we were keeping everything like in the same melody, in the same key, and then we had the idea of just kind of throwing random notes in there. So that's kind of like breaking the rules of music a little bit. Like everything has, if you play in C major, all your accompaniments have to be in C major, or else it's going to sound, it'll have
Off
like
key,
disharmony or off key. But we intentionally did that just to kind of show like the world is kind of like in turmoil. There's all this chaos going on, so we're just like, and and it just kind of like it went with it, but it kind of didn't. It was like this real
clashy
feeling,
but it worked.
But it's so I don't know. It struck a chord with the students, so I think they had a really good time doing it. And it helped me loosen up. Once it wasn't so like we got it rolling. Now I can feel I can breathe a little bit.
Something's happening.
Yeah,
something's brewing.
Right. So that was a really fun experience.
Absolutely. And I love that it became this kind of improvisational experience too, which is really fun for the students to kind of experiment in that way and like give them permission to just kind of play with music or with creating. A lot of them do make art, but not all of them. And I think, they're all older high school students, they're all thinking about college and testing, and to have an opportunity to create something really cool and meaningful but also play while doing it is such a nice experience to have, and really helps them kind of connect with the process more and really understand that it's the process of making something can be just as important, if not more important sometimes, than the product that you create as well. Yeah, and I think they, as an art historian and an art educator, it's always really inspiring to me to see the piece in a new way, not just through what the students say about it, but through this process of creating music to like really challenge them to think about, their senses when they look at the piece, what they would hear, and kind of create these kinds of moods through music. We often talk in the museum about, what mood do you get from this painting, but that can be so abstract sometimes and hard to kind of pin down. You're just like, it's nice, or like, it's sad, So like to get at something that's more nuanced through kind of like a sliding trombone and kind of a weird circus atmosphere, and it really helps you get at what the artist was really intending. And in that piece, she's absolutely all about kind of showing this discord and this weird moment that she wants you to feel a little bit uneasy. So to have that kind of not what's the word? I'm not a music educator, obviously, but this kind of lack of harmony, this kind of purposeful discord is really great from an art history perspective too, because it's exactly what she would have intended you kind of feel when you look at the piece. So that was a really fun project.
It'd be cool for the artist to hear what we've done and just see what what
we're gonna send it to her. We're gonna send it to her. We'll keep you posted. So we actually have another question from Mary. So maybe this might sort of be a question for me, but Mary asks, was there a particular piece of artwork that made you want to start your program? So I can maybe answer this in terms of the satellite program, but if you guys could probably answer this maybe in terms of just generally, like what you touched on a little bit in your introduction, but maybe we can have you expand on how H2O came to be. For Satellite, it really wasn't an artwork. It was actually, I met you guys and heard about what you were doing, and I just thought it would be super cool to experiment and bring in kind of the voice of music into the museum. I'm definitely big on doing things that are multidisciplinary in the art museum and connecting with folks who aren't necessarily, museum workers to bring into the museum and think about art and see it in new ways. So I think you guys chose the first piece that we did. I took you through the galleries and we were like, that's the one. So yeah, I usually, if I can, let you guys choose which one you want to work on. So yeah, and then maybe if you guys want to talk a little about how H2O came to be, that would be super.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, as far as there being a particular piece of artwork, it wasn't really artwork that made us want to start our program. We kind of saw it more as a community need. Because I come from a youth work background, so I mean, I've been a musician pretty much all my life, and then I've been working with youth for about 15 years in different settings. So in school settings, community centers, crisis scenarios where dealing with like runaway teens and family problems and doing counseling and stuff like that. So I always found that music was music and youth kind of music culture and youth culture kind of go together. Like kids are always got headphones on, or they're always like singing something, and it's we just kind of saw it as a way to channel their energy into something positive, like take something that they already like, right, and then get them doing something new and still like, right, they still like, but it's making a difference, right? So that's kind of like our motivation for doing what we're doing. I mean, we started out actually on the music scene, working with, so H2O was originally an online magazine, and we interviewed adult artists and put together shows and stuff like that. But at a certain point, it just wasn't fulfilling for us. It was too much. I don't know, it's just too much. And it was like, well, let's change the focus. What if we said, hey, let's do this for the schools? Maybe they might like that. Right. And so we pitched it to Arts at Large, one of the arts organizations that we work with, and they loved it. And it was a slow journey because we didn't start doing videos right away. I didn't know anything about videography. I never went to school for film. I didn't do any of that. And we just decided one day, like, man, this music is so cool. But we need another platform so that more people can see what the kids are doing. It'd be better if we had a video together. Right. So then we just kind of learned as we went and kind of grew from there. So I don't think that's really answering the question, but I know DJ Time is really into graffiti. Yeah, that graffiti is what made me, not made me do music, but that was a part of my whole coming up with music, the hip hop graffiti. Most people seen it as, just vandalism, but I knew some artists and some of the things they were going through. And those are ways they can get it out. Those are ways they can become somebody. Because you drive past and you see that piece of art, and they say, "That's me. I did that. That's the only thing I have." Sometimes that's the only thing they have, that art. And some of them spend days and days. They go out, they climb stuff, they jump over stuff just to do their display of art. And that was kind of being a rebel. And being able to say, I have nothing but this art, so I'm going to show the world. And that's kind of, that's me. Yeah. So I kind of like I like to think of our program as kind of a sort of form of resistance, even though it's not like revolution, but it's kind of like a very soft revolution. That's what we call like the peace propaganda, because propaganda is just, it's not about whether the information is true or false. It's about how you present it and how it spreads and disseminates to the public. So I feel like we're doing a good job of spreading our peace propaganda through the youth. Like the youth are doing our work for us, right? And helping to build this community that we're trying to build through music. So.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And I have to say, I love street art, and I'm going to put a plug in here for the Google Art Project, because they have been doing a lot of, I believe, documenting street art around the world. So I'll put a link on our Google Plus page to their kind of street art project, but street art is awesome. I love it. My students I always have a couple every semester who like teach me more and more about street art. And I even had one student once who, for his final project, he wrote a letter to our director and chief curator about wanting to include street art in the museum, which I thought was so awesome. It was great. So, yeah, power to art. So we have another question from Mary, and Mary asks, why did you choose the name H2O Milwaukee Music?
That's a good question. So we named it H2O because we kind of felt like, for us, music is kind of like a life source for us. So as much as people need water to survive, it might be a little bit of regionally themed too, because we live in a city with a big lake. And just kind of like water symbolizing life for us. So like sometimes we tell the students, like, imagine watching like a movie or watching your favorite sitcom and it not having any music at all.
No music.
So it's just like dialogue and that's it.
No transition music, no nothing. Just
like it would be really flat, very boring, very lifeless. So it's kind of like we kind of feel like music kind of, has those properties of
being like
invigorating you and making you want to do things, and not that it's actually supporting your existence, but
I mean it can though. I mean I think music in a way, from my aspect, if it wasn't for music, I ain't no telling where I would be. Cause I was that street kid. I was that kid that was in the project. I was that kid that was, doing stuff. And music is the only way I could survive that street. It was the only way I got out. It was the only way I didn't go to prison. It was the only way I graduated high school. It was the only way I went to college. It was music because it gave me a focus. It gave me a purpose. It kept my hands busy doing things that were productive. So, that's how I survive. You know what I'm saying? So I think music can be a lifesaver, like water.
I'm with you guys. Yeah, all arts in general, I think, are a little bit underrated in terms of their life-saving qualities. Yeah. So I would love to ask you guys some more questions about kind of how you go to museums. So this is a question that we like to ask all of our speakers, just to kind of give our participants some more ideas about what they might do as they look at art and visit museums. So I'd love to hear how you guys like to visit museums or cultural institutions. Do you like to go alone? Do you like to wander? Do you go with like specific things you want to see or exhibitions you want to see? Tell us a bit about how you like to visit museums.
I'm a wanderer. I get in there, I'm like, which way I'm going? It's kind of like I want to see everything. I want to kind of see, what's over here, what's over there. Did I miss something? I'm a wanderer. I don't have a rigid set. I want to see this type of art. I want to see that type of art. I'm all over. I'm a wanderer.
All right. Well, yeah. As far as me with museums, I kind of, my experience are more tied with the youth work that we do. So, like through our music program, sometimes we have the opportunity to take field trips through one of our arts organizations. So they actually pay for our students and us to go together as a group and go see exhibits. So I like to kind of step into the imagination of a child's mind and just see what they see and kind of, I don't know, like kind of vibe off what they're feeling and what they say. Like I really get a kick out of that. And even this is kind of a little off topic, but like even getting kids comfortable with like the body, like the form. So if they might walk past a bust or a nude bust or something like that, and like teach them how to
act when they see it.
Yeah, to act when they see it. It's kind of like a new way of kind of looking at something that's considered like, no, you shouldn't look at that. But no, it's like there's some beauty in the human form and being able to appreciate that. So I don't know, that's kind of cool to me. So I'm kind of more tied in with the kids. I will admittedly say that I'm not a big art person because I'm so interested in music, but the experiences of doing H2O and being involved with art organizations that have welcomed us as a different medium but still putting us under art.
He's an art person. You should see his house. He got pictures and all kinds. He's an art person. He just don't know it. He just don't know it. If you look at the house,
yeah, I don't know if you are helping students come to the museum and feel more comfortable around like the nude sculptures and paintings, you might be a museum educator at heart there, so watch out. I think you're an art person at heart.
Yeah. I feel like the experience have gotten me more comfortable with talking about art because sometimes there's certain types of pieces that you see and you be like, I don't get it. But then when you start hearing other people kind of talk about it, like, oh, you can tell that the artist is really distressed when they made this based on, the paint spattering or what, you know what I mean, or the techniques that they use.
Of the paint that they put on the canvas.
It kind of challenged me to think a little bit more too, and being a musician, everything is intentional. There's nothing usually there's not much that's done by accident. Sometimes it could be an accident and then you just kind of play it off. But everything that from the lyrics that we write or the melodies, everything is intentional. Like we want to evoke a specific type of feeling. Like you may get something else from it, but we definitely have like an intent behind it. So like looking at art and paintings, even from different periods, kind of show like what the mood was at that time. Like if it was like war going on, and you can put yourself there more.
Right.
So going to the museum has kind of taught me that a little bit.
Absolutely, and I think there's so much parallel between creating art and creating music. And even reading, like kind of reading or reviewing or understanding art and listening to and understanding music and the composer or the artist. It's so there's symbols in paintings and in music, in the way that you're creating sounds or showing a narrative through a piece of music, just like in a painting or a sculpture. I think there's even, we talk about rhythm in paintings too, the kind of visual rhythm. So I think there's so much that is parallel between the two that I love that kind of ends up coming up in your conversations with your students when you go to museums or art organizations, to kind of make those connections is so cool, because the language is really similar. There's definitely some specifics and technical parts to it that are different, but the intention of an artist, whether they're a music artist or a visual artist, is still so key to interpreting both things. So I think that's really cool. We have one, probably our last question before we wrap up, from Sandra. This is a really good one. So have you ever considered submitting videos to the Milwaukee Film Festival? And she says last year they had a Milwaukee Youth Show program with videos made by young people, mostly PSA, and they were shown with the students in attendance. So I wonder if you guys have ever thought about that.
Yeah, we have. We played around with that. It seems like we're always missing the deadline. We hear about it, we're like, but it's too late. Then we'll wait till next year. But we always tend to miss the deadline because we're so busy trying to get projects done because sometimes we have graduations to do projects for, and it's kind of like, hey, we gotta get the video done so they can do their graduation. They can show their video there. But yes, we definitely would like to enter. The film festival. I think we got quite a few that will do very, very well there.
Yeah. So if Sandra knows any ways that we can...
Right. Yeah, Sandra, hook us up with a connection, huh?
I can keep them on my calendar, because we have so much stuff that we could submit that I think would be very impactful for the community. And just for adults to see, like, the amazing stuff that kids are doing.
It'd be jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
Like, kids did that? Like, yes, they did. I mean, it's really professional-looking videos that these kids are coming up with scenes and different acting, and we should go over here, we should shoot it over here because it looks nice. Because we're in your facility, we're in your house, we don't know. So I think that I think we could take the gold at that film festival.
I'm with you. Let's find out that deadline and get you guys in there ASAP. Awesome. Well, I think it's about time to wrap up our conversation, which zoomed by, as these often do. But I wonder, is there anything else that you guys might want to, leave us with, or thoughts you want to leave us with before we wrap up about art and music and your work?
Well, I just want to say thank you for having us do this Google Hangouts. This is something that's new for us. It's a new frontier of technology that I still need to learn and figure out. But this has been cool to do that, and having a relationship with the Milwaukee Art Museum and working with the satellite high school teens has been very enriching for both of us personally. Right. It's been challenging us as musicians. And connecting with kids in a different way. I think it's good to shake things up sometimes, and you can become rigid in your routines of like, this is how it's always been done. This is how it's always been done.
Crack that shell a little bit.
And so, so doing that has been really beneficial to us personally, and then also just kind of having more engagement with art and the art museum too. Because traditionally, and I don't know what the stats are on that, but, coming from the inner city is pretty much where we both grew up. And a lot of kids don't really get opportunities to, some kids don't leave their neighborhoods ever. Like, some kids have never been to the lakefront. Like, they just spend most of their lives just, like, on the block.
Don't even know what direction it is.
Right. So to have these opportunities for kids that, to introduce them to the arts as early as possible, I think, is really beneficial to them in the long run. And
life,
yeah, and I personally feel like the arts and humanities make more well-rounded people. So you might have like somebody that's really good at this one particular, like for instance, like somebody's really, really good at math, and that's all they do is spend their time doing math. I can add this up, I can divide this, I can multiply this, but they can't interact with a human to process a transaction because they don't have social skills or they don't have empathy. They don't have, all these other things. They don't have that emotional range to deal with humanity and address issues and community and things like that. So I feel like the arts and music and all of those realms kind of make people a little more well-rounded. So yeah, you can be really great at this, but also, hey, there's some other stuff over here for you too to kind of take in. And
arts gives you somewhere to put the world stresses. Because if you don't have it, if you're just rigid at, like you said, at math or something like that, when you come to any kind of opposition or problems or anything like that, you don't have anywhere to put it. And art gives you that place to put it. I can put my frustrations into this, making this song, or I can put my frustrations or my, woes into making this painting. When I'm done, I'm looking at what I made or listening to what I made, and I can sometimes figure out, okay, it's not that bad. During this process, I figured out that it's not an emergency or it's not tragic, and I can, figure things out. So I think it makes very, very well-rounded people. Because you don't have that outlet to put your heavyweights of the world, they're going to splatter over everybody. So.
Well, here, right back at you on everything you just said. We love having you guys collaborate with us here at the museum, and it's always just wonderful to work with you and now to get to kind of dig deeper into art education and the arts and youth programming. This was a really wonderful conversation to have, and I'm thrilled that you guys could join us. And thank you all for all of who are watching for all of your wonderful questions as well. It's kind of bittersweet, but this is, as I said, our very last Hangout, so it's been a really wonderful series of conversations about art and many different topics under the sun. They're all archived on the online course pages at courses.mam.org, as well as on our YouTube page as well. And as I said before, I will put links to all the goodies, lots of different videos, and your guys' video playlist as well on our Google Plus page for everyone to access after. And again, thank you both so much for joining me today and for joining all of our participants here in the online course. And for everyone watching, thanks so much for tuning in. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.